so today we're digging into a year that was just absolutely stacked. 2012.
Yeah, really packed. And we've got this great source material, 3 different top 10 lists for that year.
Right. All from the same film site, but by 3 different writers. Jason, John, and Thomas. Highly personal takes.
Exactly. And that's what makes it interesting. These aren't just box office numbers. They're what these critics really loved.
Yeah.
So our mission really is to see where they agreed, where they totally diverged, and what they got really passionate about defending.
Kind of shortcutting the research for you, finding the nuggets from that landmark year.
Precisely.
Okay, let's unpack this. Where do we start? The big stuff.
I think we have to start with the consensus. Because, look, 2012 had these huge sequels, these conclusions that actually delivered.
Right. The big 3 blockbusters, they popped up on every single list we looked at.
Yeah, all 3 writers had them. And leading the pack, maybe surprisingly, maybe not, was The Avengers.
Okay, what were the ranks?
Let's see. #3, #7, and #5 across the lists. But what's interesting isn't just the praise, it was almost relief.
Relief.
Yeah.
That seems like a weird reaction for a movie that basically defined the next decade of blockbusters.
Well, yeah, but it really speaks to the stakes involved. One of the writers, I think Thomas, actually said it could have been so bad.
Ah, okay. Too many cooks.
Too many cooks, the weight of all those previous films. So the sources really credit Joss Whedon. They praised him for juggling the ensemble, the set pieces, the action, and crucially, the humor.
Right. The humor was key. Thomas specifically mentioned it wasn't all brooding existentialism. It was just focused on being fun. Spectacle.
Yeah, exactly. And John singled out the Hulk as his favorite character, found his arc really engaging, which, sometimes gets lost in these huge movies.
Interesting detail. Okay, so Avengers delivered. What else was universally loved?
Right, so moving to what you might call the consensus champion or runner-up, depending on the list, Skyfall.
Ah, Bond. Big year for Bond.
Huge year. It was John's #2, but for Jason. It was his #1 film of the entire year. Undisputed.
And you can kind of feel the excitement in his writing, right? He grabbed tickets for the Aussie premiere, loved everything about it.
He did mention being sad they killed the car, though.
Yeah, always the car. But John gives some good context, too, right? About the pressure.
Massive pressure. The film had been delayed for like a year. Plus, it landed on the 50th anniversary of Dr. No.
Wow, okay.
So yeah, huge expectations. And the sources just heap praise on Sam Mendes, the director, and Roger Deakins, the cinematographer. They felt it really honored Bond's history, but also set things up for the future perfectly.
Nailed it.
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay, so Avengers, Skyfall. What's the third leg of this blockbuster stool?
That'd be the trilogy closer, The Dark Knight Rises. And this is where that solid consensus starts to wobble a bit immediately.
So, where did it land?
Well, it's #4 for Jason, #9 for John. But Thomas, you put it right at #1, his top film of 2012.
Whoa, okay. Big split there. So what was the issue for Jason and John?
Well, Jason, for instance, he admitted it floundered at times with its pacing, and he found Tom Hardy's Bane
Well,
unintelligible.
yeah, that's the word he used. Unintelligible. Even though, interestingly, he still called the Miranda plot twist the best twist of 2012.
Huh. Okay, so he saw flaws but still found moments of brilliance. But Thomas at #1, he must have pushed back hard.
Oh, absolutely. He specifically defended the plot against people calling it ridiculous and convoluted. His argument was basically, come on, what do you expect? It's a comic book movie.
That's a pretty direct defense. Did he mention why expectations might have been so high? For sure. I mean, coming off The Dark Knight, the bar was just sky high, maybe impossibly high. And Thomas wasn't just defending the plot. He fiercely defended Tom Hardy's performance.
Despite the voice issues Jason mentioned?
Yeah, Thomas said Bane commanded the screen, that his eyes just burned with intensity, mask and voice issues aside. Real passion in that defense.
Interesting. And speaking of performances, wasn't Joseph Gordon-Levitt kind of a connecting thread here too?
That's a really sharp pickup.
Yeah.
Yeah, the writers definitely noted his role at the end of TDKR.
Yeah.
Hinting at him being the future.
Right.
So keep him in mind, because JGL's career transition is clearly something these critics were noticing in 2012.
Okay, so that covers the big 3. They nailed the blockbusters mostly.
Right.
But where did things get, a bit more experimental?
Right. Once you get past the sort of studio mandates.
Here's where it gets really interesting.
Exactly. Let's talk about the films that were maybe bending genres, doing something different, showing the diversity of that year.
Okay.
And maybe the first big surprise here is Looper, the time travel sci-fi film.
Oh, yeah, Rian Johnson. JGL again.
JGL again.
Yeah.
And it landed at #7 on 2 lists.
Yeah.
Jason's and Thomas's. Both of them said it just completely caught them by surprise.
Jason sounded like he enjoyed the brain-bending stuff, called himself a true Star Trek veteran handling the paradoxes.
He did.
Mm-hmm.
And he specifically mentioned JGL again, yeah. Seeing it as cementing that move from, like, TV kid to serious actor.
But you mentioned conflict earlier. Was there disagreement on Looper?
Well, less disagreement on Looper, more Thomas using it to make a point against another film. He defended Looper's paradoxes. He basically asked, shouldn't every time travel film have one?
Uh-huh. Fair point.
Right. But he used that defense to explicitly contrast Looper with Prometheus, which he called a huge disappointment.
Ridley Scott's return to sci-fi. That was definitely divisive. But Jason didn't agree with Thomas there, did he?
No, not at all. Jason actually had Prometheus on his list down at #8. He admitted it had issues, sure, but he watched it twice.
Okay.
So the 3D on the Blu-ray was very well done, and it played better the second time. He acknowledged the hater camp, but liked it anyway. So, yeah, real split on that one.
Gotcha. So sci-fi was definitely sparking debate. What about other genres? Horror.
Oh, yeah. We have to talk about Cabin in the Woods.
Another Whedon connection, right?
Yeah.
But this time, writing.
Co-written and produced, yeah. And get this. John, the critic who seemed to lean more towards action, put this at his #1 overall.
Wow. Okay, that's a statement. What did they like so much?
Well, the first thing both John and Thomas stressed was how incredibly hard it is to review without giving spoilers.
Which is always a good sign for originality, right?
Totally. Thomas called it a game-changing film, said its genius was being original by using all the horror cliches. John called it the most original and inventive film of the year. High praise.
It really deconstructed the genre. Okay, so inventive horror, twisty sci-fi. What about straight-up drama? Or maybe not so straight up.
Right. That brings us to Killer Joe, John's #3 pick. And this is where we really see the start of the McConaissance being codified by critics.
Matthew McConaughey's big comeback as a serious actor.
Exactly. Both John and Thomas highlighted it. They saw this film as proof. Thomas talked about how it pushes black humor right to the edge. Makes you uncomfortable, but you kind of want to laugh anyway.
Yep.
And he gave this very specific, kind of worrying advice that you'll never look at fried chicken the same way after seeing it.
Okay. Noted. Intriguing. What did John say?
John just called it flat out the best drama he saw all year, filled with gritty and deeply unpleasant people. So clearly, it made a huge impact.
It sounds like outside the blockbusters, the films that really hit were the ones doing something unexpected. Originality, shocking performances.
That seems to be the theme, yeah.
Yeah.
Which leads us perfectly into the next bit, the real outliers.
Okay, so past the consensus blockbusters, past the genre experiments, now we get to the really personal picks, the ones that show individual taste.
Exactly, the defining choices. Let's start with Jason. His list was probably the most eclectic.
Okay.
He had an animated film pretty high up, Rise of the Guardians at #5.
Oh.
Said it totally surprised him and actually won his personal award for best use of 3D that year.
Huh, okay.
Right.
Didn't see that coming. What else?
Well, he deliberately reached back to early 2012s to add some real culture, as he put it. Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy at #9. Big praise for Gary Oldman as George Smiley.
Classic spy stuff. Nice contrast.
Yeah. And then for pure fun, his #10 pick was Abraham Lincoln, Vampire Hunter.
Seriously.
Seriously. He specifically said he chose it over Battleship, so, popcorn fun.
Wow. Okay, Jason's list is definitely all over the map. What about John? You said he liked action?
He did, but also international stuff. His #8 was a Norwegian action thriller called Headhunters.
Never heard of it.
Right. He raved about it. Tense, exciting, engaging, said it was better than most Hollywood thrillers, and pretty much predicted it would get an inferior American remake.
Probably right about that. What else from John?
More action, but innovative action. The Raid at #4. Called it a new take on a tried and tested genre. Just breathtaking martial arts.
Okay, so action and international thrillers. Anything else?
Yeah, he brought the art house too. Wes Anderson's Moonrise Kingdom was his #5. He loved the look of it, said every setup looks like a piece of art.
Nice. Okay, John's got a clear taste there. What about Thomas? We know he loved TDKR.
Thomas seemed drawn to films that kind of snuck up on him, that challenged his own expectations.
Like what?
Well, he mentioned The Muppets, said he actually regretted putting it on at first, thought it might ruin his nostalgia.
Oh.
But then he just found himself smiling the whole way through. Realized they were still relevant, still worked. It didn't make his top 10, but he felt strongly about it.
That's cool. Any others like that?
Yeah, a big one. Silver Linings Playbook. He said he really didn't want to see it, expected a standard glossy rom-com,
Eh.
loved it, found it funny, touching, and unashamedly brilliant. Praised it for feeling real, not like the usual Hollywood stuff.
Mm.
He even said it came close, like really close, to being his #1 pick over TDKR.
Wow. Okay, so that film obviously made a huge impression.
Definitely. And speaking of impressions, we have to circle back to McConaughey for a second.
Right, the praise for Killer Joe. His dramatic turn.
Exactly. All this critical acclaim for his serious jocks.
Mm.
And then you contrast it with Jason's reaction to his other big 2012 film.
Oh, which one?
The one Jason named his official Turkey of the Year, Magic Mike.
Oh, boy. What does he say?
His exact quote, as best as I can recall the emphasis, was, I mean, just you...
Wow.
Okay, that's pretty definitive.
Crystal clear. And it perfectly sums up that critical moment for McConaughey, doesn't it? Loved the gritty drama, absolutely despised the popcorn fun.
Yeah, that line in the sand really captures that career shift everyone was talking about.
Totally. So if we kind of zoom out now, try to connect all these threads, what does 2012 look like through these critics' eyes?
Well, it seems like it was defined by maybe two big things.
Go on.
First, you had mastery of existing genres, like the blockbusters really worked. Skyfall, Avengers, they delivered what people wanted. That's the consensus part.
Right. Successful genre execution. But then the second thing was this really successful experimentation. Genre mashups like Cabin in the Woods, the weird sci-fi of Looper, stuff that took risks and paid off critically.
That's a great synthesis. Mastery and experimentation, both succeeding side by side.
So what does this all mean? I mean, for someone trying to understand 2012 cinema.
Well, I think it really highlights the value of, curation, personal taste. Look how different these lists become once you get past the big three.
Yeah.
3 smart people, same year, same pool of films, basically.
Yeah.
And one pulls out a must-see Norwegian thriller you've never heard of, Headhunters.
Yeah.
Another finds an animated film as the best use of 3D, Rise of the Guardians.
It shows there's always more to discover beyond the obvious headlines.
Exactly. And it also spotlights these career moments. We talked a lot about McConaughey. The sources make a huge deal about his pivot to serious drama, really cemented by Killer Joe.
Right. The reconnaissance begins.
But here's maybe a final thought, something for you to chew on. Given how many times he popped up across these lists in very different respected films, Looper, The Dark Knight Rises, and how the critics noted his successful transition to adult roles.
You mean JGL, Joseph Gordon-Levitt?
Yeah. Was his transition, his arrival as a serious leading man, maybe the real underlying acting story of 2012 that these lists reveal? Or did McConaughey's big, flashy turnaround in Killer Joe have the more lasting impact?
McConaughey's shift versus JGL solidifying his place. That's a really interesting question to leave people with. Which narrative was actually bigger that year?
Something to explore.